Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th day of the Digital Innovation Pavilion here at COP28 in Dubai. And I guess the agenda of the pavilion is coming to an end. It's been really an amazing journey together. We had so many sessions, so many speakers. I think it was really, really insightful, tremendous effort by everyone. But today, we, Evercity, as co-hosts of the Digital Innovation Pavilion, we are wrapping up our program with a very interesting session, which is related to the issues that carbon project developers are facing in their work, and how Evercity can make project developers' lives easier with technology, with digital solutions. And so we're going to have a presentation by Joseph and Patricia sharing their experience in using the digital tools developed by Evercity. And then we will have a short discussion with Lina from Vlinder, and Joseph and Patricia, and maybe the audience. And then my colleague Mislav will show a demo of the major solution update that we made, and we're gonna see those features and discuss them. So that's the plan for our today's session. And without any further ado, I want to pass the mic to our friends that are joining us from Canada. And thanks, Joseph and Patricia, for waking up early, or or not getting, not going to bed. So thank you so much for joining. And could you please introduce yourselves? And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Wonderful, Alexei. Thank you, Mislav, and everybody there. Such a delight to actually get to attend COP28 from Vancouver, British Columbia, on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I will pass it over to Patricia. I'm going to stream our slide in a moment, but over to you, Patricia.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Alexei, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patricia Rojas. I am the Regional Climate Change Coordinator for the British Columbia Assembly of First Nations, and I am joining this morning here from the unceded traditional territory of Williams Lake First Nation in the interior of BC. So yes, we are here today to share our work on the development of this carbon toolkit, a First Nations Forest Carbon Toolkit. And I will start with a little bit of an introduction or background of the why we prepare this toolkit. So in BCFN is a advocacy political advocacy organization that work based on mandates from First Nations leadership in BC. In BC, we have 204 First Nations, and in 2021, we received a mandate to support community-led climate initiatives across the province. And the goal with this mandate was to place First Nations in a leadership role to advance climate initiatives grounded in their beliefs and priorities, and fostering the growth of a new, clean, and just economy. So, all those changes are coming with climate change, but also because in First Nations in BC, similar to Indigenous people around the world, are among the first to face the direct consequences of climate change. And therefore, this resolution or this mandate give us the direction to enhance First Nations resiliency to climate change, focusing on both adaptation and greenhouse gas emissions reduction. We also wanted to advocate for the respect and implementation of First Nations title rights and treaty rights in carbon initiatives, particularly the rights to self-determination, jurisdiction, free, prior, and informed consent, and sovereignty. This is very important because in Canada and BC in particular is the first region that adopted the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and now this is as part of the laws in BC, and also Canada did the same a couple of years ago. So we are working to align legislation and policy to the UN declaration, and that includes our work on carbon offsets. So to fulfill this mandate, BCFN has been exploring ways how to support First Nations. Our goal is to enable the sale of credits, generating economic benefits, and all while promoting conservation, protecting all forests, fostering traditional land stewardship. And this approach embodies a sustainable and holistic approach to environmental protection. Next slide, please. So since there, we have crafted discussion papers and submissions to integrate First Nations priorities into policy and regulation development. We also try to contribute and bring Indigenous worldviews to reforms and engage the governments, provincial and federal government, into to bring First Nations interests into discussion. So in 2022, we partnered with EcoTrust Canada to develop a toolkit focused on First Nations-led forest carbon projects in BC context. Next slide, please.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time advancing it now. Let's see if it's, apologies, folks. Oh, here we go. There you go. My apologies.
It's okay. So the process to create this toolkit includes a research process or a research, and we spent about a year reading and speaking with knowledgeable people in the field of First Nations rights, conservation, natural climate solution, offsets, and government responsible for protocol development. We also develop and partner with other with our technology friends here, Evercity, to create a project idea, not builder, and Joseph will talk about that in a bit. And we also create partnerships with different entities and also people that help us to create this tool. And we also went to a process of a peer review to send content in a way that it reflects what is out there now. So I will pass now to Joseph that he will talk a little bit more about the toolkit and the pin builder. Thank you. Joseph, can you hear me?
There we go. Thank you so much, Patricia. So we wanted to continue the momentum created by BCAFN by developing something interactive that guides interested community members, leadership, or staff through the concepts related to land-based carbon offset projects. So that information is approachable and accessible. We've built the toolkit to have illustrations and videos that explain the technical concepts that are often new to folks or difficult to grasp as they're moving into the space of carbon project development. So really a focus on providing and supporting with capacity building. The toolkit has 5 sections: a glossary, definition of terms and the project idea note builder that the team at Evercity has built with us. And so these are the modules. It kind of walks through from an earlier concept of project development to a more advanced. And myself, having been in the carbon market for a long time, was actually a really bad person to develop a lot of the earlier parts of these tools, because having done it a long time, I'll gloss over. So we have our section on climate change and natural climate solutions, carbon offsets and markets, implementing and upholding First Nations carbon rights, ownership and entitlement, opportunities, barriers, and case studies, and a section on planning your carbon project. So with the toolkit, Patricia has sort of explained our process and really what we're working on doing at carbontoolkit.org. We encourage you to go and check that out at your leisure, and see how you like it, and see if it's inspiring, and see if it's the kind of tool that would support, if this is a project developers dialogue significantly, would this support your project partners in sort of understanding the scope of work that they're working on and that's ahead of them. One of the things that I was really thrilled for us to be building with Evercity, and a delight to continue to work with your team there, was the project idea note builder. And so folks that are part of the carbon market and they're at COP will know a project idea note is really kind of the first somewhat formal document explaining a project. And I always like to say that it provides the soup to nuts information at a certain level, but you got to get to that level before you can get it beyond. And so we were really delighted to build this with Evercity. So the pin builder enables multi-stakeholder collaboration on a project's pin. So you can actually have multiple stakeholders link in to the system hosted by Evercity and collaborate on a pin. So I may have some information and knowledge, a project partner may, Patricia and her team may, and so this allows us all to collaborate on there. Evercity also uses a version of this tool in their work, and that allows them to engage with the people who are proposing projects and help them along the way. So that multi-stakeholder collaboration, I think, is really neat. The pin builder provides optimized template for developing this critical carbon document of a project idea note. So we've taken the pins from the CDM, some of British Columbia's project idea note templates, and then actually spent a lot of mornings about this time of morning in Pacific time working with the team to really refine the best pin template. The tool really is quite special because it prompts users with insightful suggestions around standards, protocols, and demonstrations of sustainable development goals achieved. So a user can click through and look at the different standards that may be applicable or useful for their project. I find that this helps people pan back and open their eyes a little bit to some optionality there. And then it also actually builds in protocols available to those different standards. So this is really helpful for folks that don't know the carbon market as well, or maybe are coming back to a standard after a long time, to be able to work through the pin builder to actually pick what kind of protocol they're going to use. Goal is really to functionally, as a capacity support for users, get us better, faster projects, also help us address the climate crisis more quickly and more effectively. I have a video introduction to the pin builder, and I'd love your folks take there at Evercity or in the crowd. Our colleague Kaylin Sun takes 3 minutes and 15 seconds to walk through the toolkit, and she really does it best. Can I get a thumbs up or thumbs down on playing that? And that's really the end of our presentation.
Please. Yeah, you're
Great.
welcome to put it on.
Oh, I see it's not loading through.
You would need to press share and then put the video on.
Okay. Sorry, can you suggest how to share that again?
Lovely.
Oh, no.
You at the bottom there are icons for controlling, and they
Yeah.
press present.
Is there?
Present. And then
Is
there's
it? Oh, there's a share
share,
screen. I'll do
yeah.
share screen. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, team. Oh.
You can upload the video or sharing it from your computer.
It's now sharing from my screen that needs to be added to StreamYard there, so I can see it in the bottom.
Yes,
Hello,
here it
and
is.
welcome to our video series on
You
Project
should go
Idea No
full
Builder,
screen.
a tool that allows you to create an early stage carbon offset project document that can be tailored specifically to your land base and your project. My name is Kaylin Sun, and I'm from EcoTrust Canada. On the First Nations Carbon Toolkit website, you can access the Project Idea No Builder by going to the top right corner and clicking on this button called Project Idea No Builder. Once you click on it, it will take you to this landing page. On the top of the page, you see a quick access bar. This is for easy access to new account signups or logging into your existing account or watching our video demonstration, which this video is a part of. There are 3 key benefits to using the Pin Builder. First is that the tool is designed to help you get started with project development. The Pin Builder allows you to create an early stage carbon offset document, and you can tailor it with our tool specifically to your land base and your project idea. The tool is a customized solution by our technology partner, Evercity.io. Once completed, a project idea note can be used as an assessment tool for project feasibility. Secondly, the tool is meant to work as a complementary resource to the Forest Carbon Toolkit. These are the learning modules that hopefully you would have seen on our website, and they are at all time accessible from the top drop-down menu of our website. We recommend you going through these modules, and after you go through the toolkit, you may want to use the Pin Builder to apply the information to a potential on-the-ground project. The third benefit is that using this tool, you will create a standardized carbon project document. The Pin Builder asks important questions to cover the fundamental aspect of developing a carbon project. And once you use the tool, there will be step-by-step questions, hints, and examples to help you prepare a project idea note with minimal carbon market experience. And we'll show you how it looks like inside the platform later in this video. This is what a pin look like within the Pin Builder platform. We're looking at a sample document, which is also completed within this platform. As you can see, there are multiple sections within a pin, and within each section, there are multiple questions and with multiple prompts and instructions on how to fill out those questions. The Pin Builder may be useful for you if you are considering developing a carbon project on your landscape. With all these sections, as well as their questions, it helps you consolidate information that you may currently have, or help you start asking questions around your project idea of what kind of data you might need to move the project forward. The Pin Builder is developed to align with any carbon standard for offset development. Ready to explore? You can watch our video 2 to sign up for an account for the Pin Builder. And in video 3, I will demonstrate how to navigate the Pin Builder platform in more detail.
Amazing. What a wonderful educational content you guys have, and which shows how caring are you towards your partners out there in the British Columbia, and well done. So congratulations.
Thank you very much
to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And you can see more. You can go to the website and you can click through those extra videos if you like. And that third one is really nice to see the magic that Evercity has built for us and for you all. And a great demonstration of their technical prowess of connecting internet and digital revolution tools to the work needed by folks on the ground to move this all forward. So Thank you so very much, Alexei and Mislav and team. Thank you, Patricia. It's a real delight working on this with you all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we might take maybe a few questions from the audience. If you have any questions, does anyone have a question? India, please.
Don't laugh. It's going to be a great question. Have you implemented it yet? How has it been received by potential users?
I can jump in. We launched that toolkit just 2 weeks ago, so it's very new actually. But just after the launch, we received like many communications from different potential users. So communities are also interested in the toolkit. One of the big issues here is like a carbon offset, carbon credits, and everything comes with that. It's very new and it's very technical. And I think having the toolkit and the pin builder, that helps a lot, and communities will find this tool as a good resources if to explore their idea of having carbon offsets in their territories. Um, but also, if even if they want to go and start working on that, they can use the pin builder. So it was received with enthusiasm, and we are still working on that. We will reach out to more communities and see if we can host some workshops to show more about this toolkit. So yeah, thanks.
Sounds
BC
great.
has a really fascinating carbon project development landscape because there are amazing First Nations-led projects like the Great Bear Rainforest Offset Project that have been delivering tons, like almost 1 million tons a year since 2009 under BC's Forest Carbon Offset Protocol 1.0. And we've been waiting with bated breath for the second one. So there's this what's old is new again component of things. And as you all know, people's bandwidth and oxygen to engage with this really depends on market conditions, availability of protocols. And so we feel like we're in an uplift right now, which is exciting, and to be able to bring this tool for people both new and old to the carbon market.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And it's been really a pleasure working alongside with you on the pin builder. We're constantly receiving feedback, and embedding this feedback into our customer development process. So all of these feedbacks and experiences that communities face using the pin builder are key for us to develop the next versions of the product. And I'll just want to share like a few plans on the further development. So next year is going to be the AI here for us, for Evercity, and we're going to implement some of the AI and GPT components into the pin builder to make it even more flexible and user friendly, and reduce the time of the pin creation even more. So we would love to collaborate on that with EcoTrust and other partners. But why don't we now discuss some of the issues that project developers are facing in their work? And we have Lina from Blinder, and we have you guys. So we had also some other participants. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it. But anyhow, I've seen on the toolkit website the part with the challenges and issues, right? So maybe you could highlight some of these challenges and issues that you're sharing with projects, and that you find challenging in your work as project developers.
Sure. Patricia, do you have takes on that?
Yeah, I can. For us as indigenous organization, one of the big challenge is to bring those new concepts into communities. So we have many communities interested in conservation. So conservation aligns with indigenous goals, and this big effort to continue the way how indigenous live, and maintaining their worldviews and natural laws. So the having carbon offsets connected to conservation is very, very important. But it's also it's bringing these carbon markets, credits, offsets to communities is still new. The idea of how the forests capture carbon and how you can sell that is also new. So that's I think it's a challenge, because the idea is the toolkit and the pin builder need to be tailored for community. So that means to be very comprehensive, and this is bringing this very technical language into something it's easier for communities to understand and help them to in their decision making process. So I think that's one of the big challenges. The other challenge that I found is that what is coming with, for example, the carbon offset protocols, all those policies are changing, and it's hard to get prepared for something that is evolving all the time as well. So I think those are the big two challenges, and communities, they want to get engaged in this, they want to use those kind of tools, but also financial support is a very huge challenge for communities as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Joseph, do you want to add something on that?
Sure. Well, I think that your question really makes me think of the pin builder, because if, amongst the issues, there's sort of ability to access the knowledge necessary to develop a project. There's the process to really assess feasibility, and then to communicate that feasibility to get the buy-in of your community, of leadership, of project developers potentially to help you on, and of finance. And so the project idea node, of course, is really the ideal tool for aggregating all of your information so that you can get a best take on feasibility, and then to communicate that well to the stakeholders that are going to be necessary. Because people hear about these carbon markets and they hear about carbon finance and stuff like that. They, of course, have varying feelings, but for people optimistic about it, you can know that you have a landscape that you want to manage differently or protect. You can know that you've got community buy-in, but how do you figure out, can what we have here really count as an offset? Can it make it to market? Can it make enough money in order for it to allow us to do what we want to do on the ground? So I think a lot of those early project issues, are and continue to be a roadblock and a hurdle. And so really BCAFN and EcoTrust Canada are really trying to solve that, or solve for that, with the carbon toolkit for sort of a broad, expansive, and not exactly one-to-one tied information on carbon projects and offsets, and then moving through into the pin builder. And I will say that one of the things that we need to do, as all of you folks at COP this year and all the years are successful in, creating and maintaining and growing the space and room for carbon markets and for carbon offset projects, and really democratize the access to carbon finance to all of the people around the world who have an ability and an opportunity to get and keep carbon out of the atmosphere, is how do we scale the access? So in some cases, if new practitioners, if communities are able to develop projects all on their own, get them up to standard and to market, awesome, this is an end goal. And in that process, it's still valuable to have access to carbon market professionals like yourselves in the room, like our teams here. And so part of being able to scale our presence, scale the effectiveness of holders of the knowledge of carbon markets, are things like the toolkit and the pin builder to allow folks like us, folks like Evercity, to actually manage more client relationships with projects. to allow us to scale the knowledge that we hold and that experience that is still valuable at this point to more people. And so I really applaud the work that Evercity has been doing broadly and with the creation of the pin builder to really enable that. And then, of course, at that meta level, all of you folks at the Digital Hub, at GLOCHA, at Climate Change Coalition, this is our challenge: is how do we, connect the knowledge, the light of this knowledge of carbon markets? How do we carry it through dark times and then connect it to people when people and communities and markets are ready? Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Joseph. Amazing words. But let's also ask Lina, another carbon market professional, what does she think about these challenges? And I know, Lina, you've been working a lot in Africa. So British Columbia and Africa, they're pretty, different places, right? With different issues, I guess. So are these like similar issues that you're facing in your work in Africa, or there is also something else that was not mentioned?
I would say a place is different, but challenges are very, very similar. When I was looking at what you guys doing, I was thinking of structuring a knowledge platform, which we committed to create while doing our projects in Africa and Asia. And instead of doing something on our own, maybe we'll engage with you. We're doing with Evercity something else, but not this. And maybe this is something we need to look into. Because basically, when we start working in a country, we always find a way to engage a local partner. And even at this level, we also find a lot of information needed to be shared, and a lot of information being very complex for them to understand. So it's often partners who have, say, practical knowledge in mangrove reforestation or practical knowledge in building community projects, but there will be knowledge gaps which we have to fill in. And definitely there's this complexity of carbon markets, which we need to explain, and we need to explain it in such a way that we don't oversimplify it on one hand, and on the other hand, that it would be comprehensive, it would be understandable, it would be something that a person on the ground, being a partner of ours, could be able to use. So this is a good tool actually to go through a carbon project, beginning from the design and all the kind of bits and bricks needed to start it, like legislation, like project design, project documentation, baseline studies, through all the things that are related to carbon markets and all the validation, verification standards and stuff. In all the information we collect and actually cherish about indigenous knowledge in mangrove reforestation. So that's really a tool which can be very helpful with the challenges that we are facing both in Kenya and Senegal and also in Asia, in Indonesia and Myanmar. Say.
Yeah, thank you so much. And maybe there would be, even more room for us to collaborate, because, the Contrast already has this toolkit, and some of the knowledge sharing part is already there. And I know you guys want to continue working with indigenous communities in South America, and maybe this would be something that we could discuss as a potential collaboration in the future, because we don't need to create every time everything ourselves, rather than just to collaborate. And maybe we can also ask India about her experience in working with projects in blue carbon and with fisheries, right? Do you face similar challenges with the blue carbon, with fisheries, or again, there is something that was not mentioned here, which is specific for the areas of the projects that you are working on in Mexico and in other places?
I think a big problem that I've seen in small scale fisheries in particular, I'll say that it's not necessarily comparing apples to apples, but a lot of the work in that space has not been market driven. and it's been led by NGOs, and it's very top down. So I think education, like you were saying, is very important. And if you can provide an economic incentive for smallholder farmers, for instance, or other project developers in local communities to undertake sustainability projects like reforestation or what have you, as compared with fishery improvement projects in small scale fisheries, then you've got much more sustainable projects, speaking of time, in the long run. So.
Okay, thank you. And so let's also touch base on another important question. So while you're engaging with the communities, do you want the communities to be like, to do all the work, or you would prefer to, have another professional player, but maybe from the community side, that would, help you on the carbon project origination journey? So how do you work with communities? That's would be I think a very interesting question that I want to ask everyone. So maybe starting with Joseph and Patricia, and then we can have another round of answers.
Yeah, well, I think that our overall goal for BCFN is to support building capacity in communities. We want communities to exercise their self-determination, and that means like communities can develop their projects on the way they want to develop. So ideal would be like somebody from communities will be leading the development of any project in any topic. But of course, building partnership is very, very important, right? And in this specific case, it's a partnership with somebody else is needed because what we already said, like all this complexity and all those technical aspects. So, but I think the community needs to be like the presence of the community needs to be very high, and it has to be community driven. That's I think what community wants here in BC. And we want to work to support that. Even the toolkit, every tool, I think from our perspective, every tool that is supporting carbon offsets development, knowing that the majority, specifically here in BC, that territory is a First Nations territory, and community needs to exercise the jurisdiction over their territory. I think every tool, whatever we create, needs to respect that and also to promote that. Even sometimes, inside those policies and protocols and those standards, it's not this jurisdiction, it's not recognized, but we want that toolkit or every tool needs to promote that, and we want to support that as well.
Joseph, is there something to add on that from your side?
No, I'll pass it over to, is it Lena?
We are a little bit different since we work with project partners on the ground, and I would say the community is always involved. All we do is community based. All is done in such a way that they would be the owners of the forests that we restore together with them, because otherwise it won't be sustainable. I mean, it's totally impossible to come to plant and to leave, and then to expect that they will continue for 30 years without preparation, education, support, and all this. But I would say our work with community will be very differently organized depending on a country. Indonesia, say, is a very advanced in many aspects country. They figured out their carbon legislation by now, which is good. But along with this, they also have a tremendous educational national program, which is pretty much decentralized. There are lots of initiatives, building capacities, building knowledge, advancing mangrove reforestation, and even a carbon understanding. So basically now we hope to have a new project in Indonesia, which is prepared and structured fully by communities. So going bottom up, they arranged a cooperative to have a carbon project based on mangrove reforestation. They set up a company which basically prepared everything which is needed to do a carbon project. And now they are inviting us to help them with the documentation, registration, and inviting investors. So that will very much depend on a country and preparation. That differs from, say, Senegal, where we see lots of communities ready to restore and knowing how to restore mangroves and having lots of knowledge on that, but not that here with carbon regulation. In Kenya, it may be even teaching communities or getting back to their indigenous knowledge how to restore mangroves. So it's very different.
But why cannot we scale your experience that you have in Asia, and bring this concepts to Senegal, for example? So I think the cooperative idea is great, and I have heard, I think, of some of these cooperatives also in West Africa. Why do you think this model cannot be replicated in West Africa? What are the barriers apart from the maybe legislation, and also if you can stop a bit more on the legislation part, it would be also great. But what are the other challenges, and are there any?
You mentioned it. It's basically legislation and how it should be organized in accordance to the laws of the country. So in Kenya, when we come to reforest mangroves, it's a totally differently organized mangrove management, so to say. There's a state corporation called Kenya Forest Service, which manages the mangrove forests on the state lands, and the lands under the mangroves are state. But communities which live in the area also have a say, and they co-manage the forests together with Kenya Forest Service. And then what they need to create is a community-based organization, sorry for the terminology, and then also a community forest association, so that they would be able to manage the forest together with Kenya Forest Service. So not to go into details, that will largely depend upon the country and on the legislation which exists. It will also be difficult with countries which haven't yet figured their legislation around carbon, because when you come and start something, there might be then initiatives on a legislative level which will make communities restructure the way they work. So I would say this particular component might not be transferable, but there's a lot of knowledge which can be transferred.
Okay, amazing.
I can add
Sure.
something else about that if it's possible.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the capacity of the communities, of course, based on was already shared. So in BC, for example, we know Canada is changing the relationships with Indigenous people, and it's not the same like a 10, 15 years ago. And now Indigenous people have much power. And I am Peruvian, so I know the reality in Latin America, for example. So in BC, we have governments. Nations are governments. They have their own governments. Some of the nations are very strong. Some of the nations are managing more funding. Some of the nations, and I would say almost all the nations, have their corporation branch. Of course, some of the nations, they don't that same power. They don't have the same power. They are still having many issues related to violence. Um, Social issues, poverty, lack of housing. So all those things are still happening here. But there is an evolution on how the nations are working hard to defend their rights and to make their rights to be recognized and valid. And we know in Canada case, we have the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People that now it's legislation. So the government is changing. The government is changing laws. The government is opening more doors for indigenous people to, and recognize that those are the first people from this land, and they have a special rights. They are not the same rights that other people. And I think that's something is different in each country. And the history is also different. Like in Canada, we still have violence, we still have lots of racism, and communities are very disrupted. But the communities are working now to, building or rebuilding their own laws, their own nation, and I don't see the same, mm, context in other countries. Like in Latin America, you don't have that. You need NGOs there. You need organizations, because those communities, they don't have that government, or at least they are not strong enough. And of course, legislation and policies are against that as well. So.
Thank you for covering this important topic, and that's one of the learnings that I'm getting from this panel is that we do need education and capacity building, but not only for communities but also for the governments, right? So that they establish clear policies and which enable communities to actually claim their rights for carbon credits and other ecosystem services, right, and benefit from them. So thank you for covering that. So slowly, drifting our discussion towards the demo of the new Evercity product, I want to ask you all a very technical question, which is related to your communication with communities and the representatives of those communities. So how do you actually communicate? Do you use email? Do you use WhatsApp? Do you use your mobile phones, or so maybe it's very technical, but it would be great to know what are the differences in your approaches, and what challenges do you face in the communication, because there might be some challenges. So who would love to start? Linda, maybe.
That also will depend on the country. WhatsApp is big in Africa. It's also not that bad in Asia. So that's I would say our basic communications tool. But we also need to remember that the communities we are working with, say in Africa, could be disadvantaged and could not have not even phones, but also they could be not reading, not writing. So we try to use visuals as much as we can. We try to do in-person communication as much as we can. And they are very communal, community organized. So they are very much used in getting together and making decisions together. So this is what we also respect and what we also rely on very often.
Thank you. Joseph, Patricia, you want to share your experience?
Yeah, I'm actually really interested in Patricia's answer to this. And Patricia, I just wanted to say that was your laying out of why and how British Columbia and the First Nations and their self-governance is evolving, is different than a lot of places, and is really powerful. Was a really beautiful telling of that. I really appreciated that that highlighting and that placement within the world of carbon markets. So I really appreciated that. For us, I have a little anecdote about communication, which is that we've recently had a project that we're collaborating on be supported by a significant funder, and well, it's by the government, and we're reaching out to our project partners because they had won a grant, but the individual who held the land stewardship role at this nation actually had left their job, and we were concerned that nobody was monitoring this email address that was getting this word from the government that they had won a big grant. So I'll just leave that as an anecdote, that making sure that these communication channels are effective and that they're actually linked up to everybody that needs to be linked up is a clear and pressing concern.
I could say like we use, everything that we can. So we use sometimes WhatsApp to communicate with chiefs, direct line, even fax sometimes, because some communities are still using fax, and which is weird now, but they are still, like a community members. They have almost everyone has a phone almost, but they're still, like to see on paper if there is an event. They still want to see that on the wall. But of course, we use also visuals, but we use all the social media we can. So Facebook is people like Facebook. If you want to, of course, engage youth, you don't go through Facebook, but you go to TikTok and all those social media platforms. But you know, like with COVID, things change a lot, and now virtual meetings are more often. But people are getting tired about that. So we saw like we need in-person meetings, in-person engagement sessions, and people are appreciate that now. Like it's just impossible to replace that connection and relationships you can build when you are with somebody else in person, or where you are in just two dimensions. Of course, having Zoom or those digital platforms helps a lot, and I helps also to connect with communities, especially those are very far away. And I don't think. I think that now it's like a part of those communications systems, and it's very very important. But as I said, we cannot replace um, with building those relationships in person. So there are still, traditional protocols that we follow for communication. Like, for example, we hosted a knowledge keepers gathering 3 weeks ago, and one of the chiefs went to invite the knowledge keepers bringing tobacco with them, and that means if the knowledge keepers can with tobacco, and you receive the tobacco, you cannot say no to attend a ceremony. So those are part of the protocols. And I think, even bringing those little things into those digital platforms, I think it's important. Like you have a Zoom meeting, but if you make this environment more friendly and trying to be in a circle like First Nations meet here, I think that's important, but we are not there yet. So I can still see like when you use Zoom, for example, you are just in different places, but you don't feel being in a circle. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. I think it's really important to stick to the practices which are commonly used and kind of habitual for people we are working with. This is one thing. The other thing, when I was hearing the word protocol, I also remembered what we often do. We are inviting the county government and Kenya Forest Service, say in Kenya, to be present at all the important meetings and to secure that the decisions which are made in regards to the project is supported by them and explained well to the community in their own language. So this is also a practice we follow, and a thing we will be doing anyways, and no WhatsApp, no email will ever substitute this.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's been very, very insightful. And I just returned from a trip to West Africa to visit projects, communities with another partner of ours, and I can totally confirm, that a lot of the issues you said are applied there, and there is a sense of community, and I cannot add more on that. But what I can do is actually pass the mic to my colleague Mislav, who will share some of the product updates around Evercity platform. You probably know that Evercity platform is famous for its consecutive process in working with carbon project origination and uniting all of the stakeholders within the process. and facilitating, streamlining their communication. So I think communication is a very important thing, because we can lose a lot of time and resources on communication. So we've been thinking about that within our product team in Evercity, and we made another step forward to streamline the communication between project owners, developers, auditors, and other stakeholders who are involved in the process. And we will be happy to present you the outcome of our work this year, and how we increase the efficiency of the communication. And we would love to hear your immediate feedback on whether you think is relevant and what we can do together next year to make this communication even more efficient. So please, passing the mic to Mislav, who is our product manager at Evercity.
Hello, everyone. You can hear me well, right? Yeah. Thanks for the intro, and really good to be here at this great panel. So what we wanted to show today is this. We're really proud to showcase the new kind of the new product that we've been working on lately, which basically includes the business matching engine. So to connect project owners, project developers, VVBs, right, auditors, all on the platform in this kind of consecutive project management flow. So what this does is basically it enables project owners that once they have a certain amount of information in place, right? For example, the PIN in place, they are able to open the no worries. Yeah, perfect. So they are, once they have the PIN in place, they are able to um, open the service provider listing, and then the state-of-the-art business matching basically engine of the platform would automatically identify relevant partners, potential partners, depending on various characteristics of the project. So depending on the service needed, depending on the project type, country of implementation, um, and the platform would basically automatically match them directly on, so they can work on the platform on this consecutive project management flow. And within that, the kind of project owner, this process that we are showing right now is the project owner reaching out to the service providers, but this flow can be mirrored, right? So the exact same service providers can actually reach out to the project owners. So what this creates for the project owners, for the projects at an early stage, is kind of a bidding or tendering process where they are able to kind of receive a pool of offers and identify the most suitable ones. So some project owners provide project financing, some have consulting fee upfront, some decide go for the revenue sharing model. So this kind of empowers the project owners in those negotiations. And on the other hand, the project developers can get access to a database of pre-structured projects, and basically spend much less time on feasibility assessment and kind of due diligence. And then the whole process is further streamlined in the messaging center, where using the live chat function, the potential stakeholders can negotiate directly, can obviously schedule the meetings, virtual meetings, and they can also on the platform sign the contracts and agree on the collaboration directly on the platform, directly among themselves, without any kind of intermediaries, and just speed up the whole process, the whole communication, since there is a lot of kind of excessive back and forth communication. So this streamlines it very much, right? And then once the collaboration is agreed, right, the service provider would be onboarded on the project and on this consecutive tab system, and using the task management feature, they would be able to directly communicate among themselves. Assign responsible people, assign due dates, and work jointly on this whole process of the project origination, right? Yeah. So this is the commenting function that I was speaking about. And yeah, this is something that we wanted to showcase on here. Also, there is the traffic light system, right? Depending on the status of the task. So the progress bar, the field, the comment itself, the task itself is colored following according to the status of the task. Yeah, this is the end of the video. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mislav. Great work, great job, Mislav and the tech team. Yeah, so you just saw this messaging service, and the notifications about the messages would be obviously sent to the respective emails. They would be sent, through the platform, and maybe we might also think about WhatsApp integration. So that the responsible managers, responsible people would receive WhatsApp notifications that something needs your attention on the platform, whether there is a comment left by an auditor or a project developer, or whether there is a new message or something, so that would remind the responsible person to go into the platform and work it out. So I think personally, I think it's a great feature, but I would love to hear some of the impressions of the audience and of our esteemed panelists today.
I'm ready to comment. I want to try it out. As a project manager, I struggle to find a platform which would be unifying all the participants involved. Because yes, normally it's somebody using email, somebody fails to use the task management system we are using. Many of them, I would say, honestly. Many would use WhatsApp and forget about emails and things like that. So if there could be a platform which sends it out to whatever is the preferred means of communication of all the parties involved, that would be really fun to try out and see how it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say that as you were presenting that, Mislav, I was kind of resonating with earlier comment that we need to meet people where they're at with their sort of technical tools and communication. But Evercity is really trying to do both things, right? So it's creating a new platform for communication, but really leveraging quite intelligently the existing tools. I'm sure there's lots of great technological shift and era advancement of humans that follow that, or that Evercity has sagely implemented to do this work. But I was getting excited for Evercity as you were presenting that, because projects need this so clearly, right? They're a unifying tool, a spot to be building these, building up the documentation and all like that. It's always been ad hoc. I've been developing offset projects for 19 years, and it's still ad hoc. And so, depending on the way the wind is blowing, let us be hopeful for markets. And for carbon finance. And I think that Evercity, you've really chosen a very good problem to solve, or to seek to solve, because it's a tough one and it takes a lot of work, but of course that. But somebody's got to get this right, and I think somebody will get this right, and it'll become a tool that is really catalytic in solving climate change. And a great business outcome. So I really applaud you on that work, and I think that awareness of the value of creating something new, the sort of mission focus of it needs to do this, but enabling it to connect to where people are and pull them upwards and over into what you're doing is the right road. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for your kind words. Does anyone have any other questions or comments from the audience or from the speakers? Well, if not, then I want to thank you all for participating in this panel. I think, as all the other panels at the Digital Innovation Pavilion. It was very insightful. I would say, you've been sharing with us some really kind of, technical knowledge that you face in your daily life as carbon professionals, and that's very valuable, and especially valuable for Evercity, because that's what we're basing our product development process on. So that's absolutely super important, super crucial for us to know your feedback on existing tools, to know how you guys work and what do you need in your work to do it better, faster, and in a more efficient way. And as said before, we absolutely agree that there should be, also other formats, physical formats. There should be various capacity buildings. There should be the work with the government and education. And this is what we've been discussing here for this whole 2 weeks. And we also presented a new initiative that we call the West African Carbon Market Acceleration Platform, that was supported by the UNFCCC Secretariat and some of the UAE partners. And what is even more important, that already more than 5 West African countries expressed their willingness to participate in this initiative. And this initiative exactly has all of these components in place. So we would be happy, to use your experience and the toolkits that you've developed to strategize together to scale this in your respective regions, in Africa, in Canada, in South America. And so I'm really thankful for this discussion and the other discussions that we had. Also, special thanks to our longstanding partner Miroslav Polzer and IAI Glocha for having us here and collaborating on the development of the pavilion and the programming. So thanks to yeah.
I believe in your work, your vision, mission, and thanks for the cooperative spirit, the creativity, and also the level of ambition that you have. We really want to be leaders, pioneers, building a better world, technology enabled, but with a focus on society and societal goals primarily. And it's a pleasure working with you, pleasure having you here, and I'm sure it will be a successful platform.
Thank you so much, Miroslav, and thanks everyone again. And with this, Evercity's COP28 program is officially closed. It's been quite a challenge this year because we had new roles, and we'll see each other in the fields and next year in Baku, Azerbaijan. So thanks a lot. Yeah, and hopefully we can see you, Patricia and Joseph, in person in Baku, or even earlier, and we can discuss the results of the fruitful collaboration that we're having and extending, and get together and share some of the new experiences and insights that we will get in 2024. So thanks again for joining. Thanks everyone, and have a nice evening. Thank you.